4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. I'm Brighton Supervisor Bill Maley. I'd like to welcome you all to the March 13, 2014 Brighton Town Board meeting, and I thank you all for participating, whether you're here in the audience or watching at home on TV or streaming on the internet. We appreciate all of you participating tonight. I would note that the agenda for this meeting is in the rear of the room with supporting materials. If you are watching at home, it is available on our website, www.townofbrighton.org. We will start our open forum in a little bit, but as always, we do encourage residents and non-residents alike to participate in the open forum, whether it's on a matter on the agenda or any other matter. Now, if you are at home, and we'll get, again, to the open forum shortly, we do have a phone number you'll be able to call in, so we'll get all those details in a minute. But in case of an emergency, very important, you will hear the emergency alarm system. If you hear that, please exit the room immediately, either through the door to my right, turn right, go down the stairs, out the rear entrance, and away from the building, or you can go out the two entrances behind us in the rear of the room, out the front door of Town Hall, and again, away from the building. We do occasionally experience technical difficulties during the broadcast. If you do, and you're watching the live broadcast, please contact Time Warner at 756-5000. Again, that's 756-5000. I'd like to start the meeting with a pledge to the flag, and I'll ask Jim Vogel to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we're going to begin the meeting with my annual State of the Town address. And it is, again, an honor for me to speak to the Brighton community about the state of our town, particularly in this, our bicentennial year, to share with all of you the many successes of the past year, and to recognize and thank the people who are together responsible for those successes. I will also share with you my thoughts about Brighton's bright future and the exciting opportunities we can look forward to in 2014 and the years to come. Brighton is in the sweet spot as a community when it comes to the quality of our services and our willingness as a community to come together and engage with one another in a conversation about the vision for the future of this town. That does not mean we don't face challenges as a community. We do, and we will continue to face those challenges directly, together. We live in a world of limited resources, particularly for local government, and we will continue to operate in a responsible manner in the best interests of you, the taxpayers of Brighton, to develop and then carry out that shared vision of Brighton's future. As I noted, 2014 is Brighton's bicentennial year. We've already begun to celebrate this milestone with events such as our recent African American History event, Struggle Toward Freedom. Before the year is out, we will reenact Brighton's first town meeting, held in what is now the Stone Tolan House, back on April 5th, 1814. We'll hold an old-fashioned community picnic at Buckland Park on June 1st, and we'll celebrate our heritage as a canal town in August. But as we look back and celebrate 200 years of our history, what we're really doing is celebrating the people that have made Brighton the community that it is today. Now, we can also look forward confidently, knowing that although we can't see the future, we can prepare for it, plan for it, and together with the talented and energetic people that live in Brighton today, we can embrace that future and the opportunities it will bring us all. Truly, we build our future on the efforts of those that came before us. And by honoring and celebrating 200 years of Brighton's history, 200 years of people that have made Brighton such a special hometown for all of us, we lay the groundwork for celebrating the next 200 years. Wherever I go in the Rochester area, people tell me what a wonderful community Brighton is. that talk about our schools, our parks, our neighborhoods, our diversity. All of us that live here in Brighton know how true each of those points are. And the reality is that each of them is an investment in our future as a community and the future of our children and grandchildren. But we also know that what has made Brighton survive and thrive over the past 200 years are the same things that make it special today, our people. I never cease to be impressed by the time, the energy, and the passion that you, the residents of Brighton, put into this great community. For everyone that gives of their time and their talents, whether you do it through your church, your synagogue, or your mosque, your neighborhood association, your school or service club, or on your own as an individual, I applaud your efforts and I thank you. You make our hometown of Brighton a better place to live every day. 2014 is a time to look back and celebrate 200 years of history, but it's also a time to look forward. And we do so with great optimism that the projects that we will begin and plan this year will be projects that will change the face of Brighton, make us a stronger and more sustainable community with a more attractive and desirable commercial corridor, providing inviting gateways to our neighborhoods, the neighborhoods that are so special and so central to our character as a community. The centerpiece of Brighton's transformation will be our Monroe Avenue Green Infrastructure Project. The project is funded with a state economic development grant of approximately $1.6 million, and it will be underway this year. The project is being designed to make significant improvements to stormwater performance along Monroe Avenue from the 12 Corners to Westfall or Allens Creek Road. The Green Infrastructure Project, though, will not just be a stormwater project. It will also improve the appearance of Monroe Avenue, that entire stretch, by restoring the tree lawn between sidewalk and street as a green visual barrier between street traffic and pedestrian traffic, making walking on Monroe Avenue a realistic option again, and making other visible changes to our streetscape. Finally, it will also highlight Allens Creek and Buckland Creek, both of which cross Monroe Avenue in relative obscurity today. These enhancements will benefit both the nearby neighborhoods and the businesses on the avenue. In preparation for the project, our Volunteer Citizens Committee, town staff, and expert consultants have developed concept plans and have held 2 open houses for the community here in this room. Town staff and community volunteers have even walked the entire stretch of Monroe Avenue, visiting with business owners to share these concepts with them. And I know when some of those business owners had someone from the town stop at their store, they figured they might be in for some trouble. But in this case, the goal was sharing a vision for this project that will transform Monroe Avenue to make business owners, property owners, and residents aware of this exciting project and the potential that the project has to enhance our environment, make Monroe Avenue a more attractive and safer street, strengthen the neighborhoods along Monroe Avenue, and make Monroe Avenue in Brighton a go-to retail destination. We're already hearing from business owners on the west end of Monroe Avenue, hoping that similar improvements can be made at their end of the avenue. And once this project is completed, we will look to obtain grant funding in order to make improvements to that end of the avenue as well. Further east along Monroe Avenue, the State Department of Transportation will construct safety and infrastructure improvements to Monroe Avenue between Westfall Road and Clover Street this summer. That's a stretch of the avenue with high traffic volumes and very real traffic safety concerns. As part of this project, the I-590 interchange will be reconfigured to slow traffic coming off the highway and onto Monroe Avenue. The state will also construct new sidewalks on both sides of Monroe Avenue between Westfall and Clover, improving what has long been one of the most difficult stretches of highway in Brighton for pedestrians. Now, although this is a state project, it will benefit Brighton, both from a safety and a sustainability perspective. And along with the Green Infrastructure Project, I believe these two projects will significantly transform the look and the desirability of Monroe Avenue. Two significant trail projects will also get underway this year, enhancing our active transportation footprint and implementing our bicycle pedestrian master plan. The Highland Crossing Trail is the result of intergovernmental cooperation between the City of Rochester and the Town of Brighton. The Highland Crossing Trail was funded primarily through the federal TEP program, and when completed, it will link central Brighton to the Erie Canal Trail and to the Genesee River Trail, making it much easier to bike or walk to the University River campus or to downtown Rochester. Construction will begin this spring, and they hope to complete the project this construction season. The second new trail will run from Elmwood Avenue to Westfall Road, right here across the street, creating a link from Town Hall to Buckland Park and making it easier for families to enjoy the amenities that are offered at Buckland. In 2014, we'll also begin the update of our comprehensive plan. The plan update is a roadmap for town government as we make difficult decisions concerning the potential acquisition of additional open space, identifying possible uses for existing open space, enhancing our infrastructure, particularly our active transportation infrastructure, and consideration of new community facilities. In a world of limited resources, these are difficult decisions indeed. And for that reason, community input into the process is vital. The town has received full funding for the update of the comprehensive plan through a $150,000 grant from the Regional Economic Development Grant Program. That state funding program recognizes that smart planning, sustainable planning, makes for good economic development opportunities scaled to the community. I encourage members of the community to participate in the public process of the development of this update. Once our plan update is completed, I will encourage the town board to take formal action to adopt the plan and to consider implementation of recommendations in the plan, again, particularly those that will promote sustainability in Brighton. That's our best path towards a future. But even as we look forward, it is important to report on the accomplishments of the past year, because they are many, and they do reflect the hard work of town staff and also of community volunteers. There is no more important responsibility for local government officials than public safety. Just last month, the annual report of the Brighton Police Department showed us what we already know. The Brighton Police Department is an outstanding department in every sense of the word. Crime was down significantly in Brighton in 2013 in a variety of different categories. But just as important as these statistics are in evaluating our police department, and they are important, it is also important to examine how our department interacts with the community. In February 2013, Chief Henderson initiated a community engagement initiative for the department. As part of that initiative, Chief Henderson raised expectations for the department, and at every level, the men and women of the Brighton Police Department have responded. Every officer has been directed to step out of their cars and interact with residents and businesses on each shift. They've been directed to conduct traffic enforcement on each shift, helping to keep our streets safe. That's an issue that I hear about day in and day out, and it's an issue that our department is addressing as part of this initiative. This policy, this initiative, enhances the quality of police service in Brighton, and I'm proud to recognize Chief Mark Henderson for his efforts and to salute all of the men and women who serve in our police department. Now, Chief Henderson couldn't be here tonight, but Captain David Cathaldi is here, and he, like everyone, is committed to that policy. I do also want to note that Chief Henderson has also been instrumental in working to address issues of fair treatment to all members of the community, and has been willing time after time to join me to meet with community and neighborhood groups, to open lines of communication and share advice in addressing public safety concerns. Also, as part of our community outreach, we're conducting our second community Citizens Police Academy. teaching residents about the department and about the criminal justice system. I also want to acknowledge all of the public safety agencies that serve Brighton. Each of those agencies now serving the town, the Brighton Police Department, but also the Brighton Fire Department, the Rochester Fire Department, and Brighton Volunteer Ambulance, provide valuable and cost-effective services to the community. Together, they provide prompt responses and caring service, making Brighton a safer place to live, work, or just to visit. Maintaining Brighton's financial strength and stability in the face of challenges large and small remains a top priority for all of us. Facing yet another year of double-digit increases in health insurance premiums, and despite efforts to convert as many of our employees as possible to more cost-effective but still comprehensive health insurance plans, Brighton's 2014 budget stayed under the state tax cap yet again, with a tax rate increase of only 1.77%. There's a lot of reasons for that. One are the members of our Brighton Budget Review Task Force, who reviewed capital and budget requests as an integral part of the budget development process. Again, these are some of those people that give of their time and talent, and I thank each of them for doing so. I'm proud to work with the budget development staff that has proven themselves to be second to none. Our budget director, Andrew Robinson, and our finance director, Suzanne Zaso. You share my commitment to an open and transparent budget development process, and your willingness to work as hard as it takes helped us complete and approve our balanced budget below the tax cap again this year. I must also note that our town board again approved our 2014 budget prior to the November elections, so that the residents of Brighton could make informed decisions based on that budget when they go to the polls. There's been much discussion about Governor Cuomo's proposed tax freeze and circuit breaker. Under his proposed plan, taxpayers would qualify for a tax rebate check only if their community stays below the tax cap in the first year, and in later years, only if they also demonstrate savings from consolidation of services. Now, it's important to note that the town of Brighton has long been committed to working in collaboration with other municipalities and school districts. Just a few of the examples are our lease agreement with the Brighton Central School District to lease the former Brookside School for our Parks and Recreation departments, our participation in NYMIR, the New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, which has members of governments of all types throughout the state, reducing insurance premiums and ensuring that insurance is available. We also have road plowing and maintenance agreements with the town of Pittsford, the county, and the state. And I've mentioned the state a number of times here. I want to acknowledge Senator Robach and Assembly Majority Leader Morelli are in Albany. They're doing that hard work on the state budget right now. But I do want to acknowledge Ashley Pallo from Senator Robach's office. Thank you, Ashley, for being here tonight, and please send our thanks and regards to the senator. I also want to stress the stalwart connection that we have with the Brighton Central School District under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Kevin McGowan. Thanks to the strong lines of communication between the town and the school district, Dr. McGowan and I will continue to work to develop new collaborative approaches to improve our services and facilities for the benefit of our students and our taxpayers. Kevin, I appreciate your willingness to work with me to achieve these shared goals. Thank you very much. The town board and I will continue to seek new ways to save taxpayer dollars, and we will review the governor's budget proposal. We'll work with the State Association of Towns, the Monroe County Council of Government, to make sure that our taxpayers receive the full benefits of any program that is adopted. On a related note, I've met with the new leadership of the Brighton Chamber of Commerce about new approaches to collaboration between town government and the Chamber. We share common interests in enhancing the appearance of Monroe Avenue and the 12 Corners, improving property values in Brighton, and in getting out the message about Brighton as a convenient and quality place to shop, dine, and conduct a whole variety of services. To that end, we plan to explore economic development measures that will strengthen the business environment in Brighton, consistent with a neighborhood-scale business community that we've grown to know and love. When we have high-quality, unique, local businesses on Monroe Avenue, we make our business stronger, but we also enhance the surrounding neighborhoods, where people can live close to the shops and services that mean the most to them. Last year, I spoke about our efforts to protect our tax base as we fight to keep taxes in check in the face of cost increases. Our agreements with Empire State College and the University of Rochester that we discussed last year are the start of that effort. As large not-for-profit agencies in Brighton bring development proposals to us, we will reach out to them to reach agreements to make payments in lieu of taxes, to ensure that we can continue to maintain and enhance our quality local services. Again, as the state considers budgetary and fiscal issues, we call on the state to enact tax reform legislation to eliminate the unwarranted tax break for condominium developers, thereby improving tax fairness for all taxpayers in New York. I also urge COMITA reform to ensure that tax subsidies go only to projects that provide true net economic development impacts and new jobs paying prevailing wages. New development proposals in Brighton do provide the opportunity to enhance our tax base, but those benefits can be elusive if COMITA tax subsidies, granted by an appointed board without local government approval or consent, undermine tax revenues for our town and for our school districts. We will continue to conduct thorough environmental review of all new development proposals, and we understand that well-planned projects provide benefits to the community beyond tax revenues. We will continue to use incentive zoning where appropriate to customize development to best meet community needs and offset impacts with community amenities. In particular, we will expect new incentive zoning projects to make mutually agreeable arrangements with our GRTA for bus service to minimize the traffic generation impacts of new development and to enhance bus service throughout the town of Brighton. From the many telephone calls and emails I received praising our highway, sewer, and public works staff, and the calls that I get with concerns maybe about a dead tree or a cracked sidewalk, a pothole, a lot of potholes this time of year, there can be no doubt that maintaining high-quality infrastructure in the town of Brighton is vitally important to our quality of life. Infrastructure maintenance and construction is an important and large part of our budget. This year's extreme winter weather puts additional strain on our infrastructure obligations and, yes, on our budget. We do plan for this work each year, and even though the short-term demands of a winter like this one may be greater this year than usual, our annual work on sewers, on highways, on our sidewalks, services like our lawn and garden debris pickup will not be curtailed. I do commend the leadership of Commissioner of Public Works, Tim Keefe, and your entire team here in Town Hall, down at the Operations Center, and at our other facilities for the work that you do and your team does to maintain our infrastructure, evaluate development proposals, and interact with the community. Maybe most importantly, interact with the community every day. People that come in to the counter with questions, with proposals about issues that affect neighborhood quality of life. Now this morning I woke up and had the opportunity, drove in after 16, 18, 20 inches of snow. And I have to commend not only Tim, but I really want to personally commend each of the men and women that were out working all last night. The condition of the streets and highways, and not just the main arterials, but the condition of our neighborhood streets throughout the community was simply extraordinary in light of the magnitude of the storm and the wind and the cold temperatures. That's because those men and women in the highway department did work all night, just as they're committed to do every time we have a storm. So I know I speak on behalf of the entire town board and the entire community when I thank each and every one of you for the service that you gave us last night. Last January, we completed our bicycle pedestrian master plan, another public works project. The development of this plan involved extensive public outreach. This year, we'll begin implementation of the plan with the trail projects that I've already mentioned and with Brighton's first bicycle boulevard. The plan will continue to serve as a guide as we sharpen our focus on active transportation, walking and bicycling, as an important part of our overall transportation framework. I have reached out, and I will continue to reach out to our state and federal officials to stress the importance of funding not just highway infrastructure, but active transportation infrastructure, the concept of complete streets, bike lanes and bike trails, pedestrian sidewalks, and the other improvements that make it easier and safer for our residents to stay fit, support our environment, and our local business community. Last year, we conducted a reorganization of our Parks and Recreation Department. We established a Recreation Department led by Becky Cotter and incorporated our Parks operations led by new Parks Superintendent Matt Beeman into the Public Works Department. Through this reorganization and the hard work of Matt, Becky, and the entire staff, we were able to cut costs, consolidate some maintenance functions, and still enhance services. Doing more for less is a mantra that many profess in local government, but few achieve. However, I can proudly say that with this reorganization, we have done exactly that for the taxpayers of Brighton. In 2013, we began the successful process of installing online registration for Recreation Department programs, and now more than 50% of registration is made online. We added new programs and maintained favorites like free swim and free skating programs. Our after-school program continues to be state licensed and very popular. The Brighton Farmers Market and the Winter Market support local agriculture and continue to provide year-round access to healthy food and food products at a negligible cost to taxpayers. We're looking at the possibility of expanding the community garden in Buckland Park, giving even more people the opportunity to participate in this very popular effort. And I want to thank Sue Gardner-Smith, who's the director of both the community garden and our Brighton Farmers Market, both the winter market and our outdoor market, for all of your efforts. These are community jewels, and we appreciate all you do to make them possible. The Brighton Memorial Library. When you walk in, the first thing you see is people of all ages reading, using computers or Kindles, getting questions answered by library staff. Walk in a little farther and you see the Library Friends bookstore, the young adult desk, DVDs. You see theme displays, encouraging readers to dig deeper into historic topics. If you go in right now, you'll see a display on Women's Month this March. You might even see contest entries from children. But what you see in every one of these scenes is learning. I appreciate all the work of Jennifer Reese-Taggart, Executive Director of the Brighton Memorial Library, the volunteer members of our library board, led by Chair Linda Rapkin, and the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library. Together, you've created and maintained an award-winning library for all ages, for all seasons, and for all reasons. Every time I'm in the library, and I am a proud library card holder and member of the Friends, I see more and more reasons why our Brighton Memorial Library has been named the best library in Monroe County. No town in Monroe County has a more active social media presence than the town of Brighton. With the bicentennial celebration, we have further enhanced our presence on Facebook, on Twitter, and now on YouTube, the Brighton channel on YouTube, to better communicate with our residents about upcoming programs or classes, events, or even emergencies like yesterday's winter storm. Again, I encourage all of you to like, follow, or share the Town of Brighton and our special Brighton 200 bicentennial pages on Facebook and on Twitter. Assistant to the Supervisor, Mary Ann Husser, continues to manage our social media presence, and along with Town Historian Mary Jo Lanfear, Mary Ann is our primary staff support for all bicentennial planning and activities. Mary Jo, thank you, and I'm grateful for your work on the Bicentennial Project. It's much appreciated. Our Brighton Town Court has a history of excellence, and Judge Karen Morris and Judge John Falk, along with the able staff of our town court, ensure a fair day in court for all. They hear a variety of criminal and civil proceedings, all of which are important to the parties before them, and all of which receive their full attention and effort. We're fortunate to have two judges with a broad perspective on life and life experience. They work with the law enforcement community, with lawyers, and most importantly, perhaps, with the parties themselves to serve justice to a large caseload. I've said it before, and I'll surely say it again. We are fortunate that Judge Morris and Judge Falk sit on the bench in Brighton, and on behalf of everyone that comes in contact with you in your courts, I say thank you for your service. Now, it's ironic that my friend Dan Amon occasionally feels like the invisible man in town government, because he and his office serve the people in Brighton in so many different ways. He serves as the town's record access officer, responsible for compliance with the New York Freedom of Information Act, a particularly important position for a government that prides itself on openness, as we do. Our town clerk's office collects millions of dollars of taxes seamlessly every year, and it issues permits and licenses of many kinds, and recently has added the ability to purchase E-ZPass toll collection systems right here in Town Hall. Dan also uses his years of information technology experience in the private sector to make sure that the town clerk and the town as a whole has cutting-edge computer capabilities. I appreciate immensely the many hats that you wear, Dan, and the many ways that you serve the people of Brighton. Thank you. Each of my colleagues on the town board put in countless hours meeting with community members, holding committee meetings, or working with community groups. We work as a team to answer resident questions or concerns, and your town board members are always available to serve as your voice in town government. Although none of them have a paid staff, they work hard to respond to your needs and residents. And because they're out in the community, listening to your questions and concerns, we're all able to do our jobs more effectively. For your commitment to the Brighton community, I want to thank my colleagues, Jim Vogel, Louise Novros, Jason DePonzio, and Chris Warner. Obviously, we had to reschedule this meeting from last night. Chris teaches a class on Thursday evenings, but I expect that he will be here before the meeting is over. But I thank each one of you. In 1814, Brighton was a town that stretched from the Genesee River to Irondequoit Bay, from Lake Ontario to what is today Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, and beyond, with a population far less than 3,000. Today, even after several consolidations and annexations, Brighton still stretches from the Genesee River to Tryon Park and includes nearly 37,000 residents who live in diverse neighborhoods, large and small. They live in senior citizen developments, they live in apartments. But all of them, all of you, make up the beautiful fabric that is Brighton. The state of Brighton is strong today. Yes, the state of the town of Brighton is strong today because of you, each one of you that has chosen to make Brighton your hometown. Brighton is strong because you've made it your hometown, and yes, I also believe it's strong because the leaders of this community, whether in local government, education, business, or community organizations, are all committed to Brighton's future. I'm proud to be a part of a community with 200 years of heritage to draw on, and a shared vision of a bright future to lead us forward. Thank you all for attending tonight, and thank you for being a part of this great community, our hometown of Brighton.
Yes, again.
I do appreciate it very much. Okay, we'll begin our open forum now, and again, as we've discussed already, the open forum is an opportunity for individuals to address the town board on topics, whether or not they're on the agenda tonight. As always, get my cheat sheet here. We invite people who are watching at home to call in with any questions or comments you might have. And you can call 303-3060, and an operator will take your questions or comments and pass them on to the board. We'll try to answer them. That number again is 303-3060. If you're deaf or hearing impaired, you may call our TDD line at 784-5205. Again, 784-5205. We look forward to your questions and comments. And before we go on, I just want to make a note. We have, the past 2 years, had a sign language interpreter here for the State of the Town message. And had Mother Nature not intervened, we had a sign language interpreter scheduled last night to interpret the State of the Town for the deaf community in Brighton. Unfortunately, we were not able to, on short notice with the change in time, arrange to have an interpreter here tonight, and I apologize to the deaf community for that fact. But let's begin the open forum, and we're going to start with a presentation from a Jewish Senior Life.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Jerry Goldman. I'm a proud resident of Brighton, living at 59 Branchwood Lane. It's difficult to act as a town supervisor is to follow on State of the Town evening. We're here this evening to make an initial presentation, an informal presentation to the town board and to the public with regard to exciting developments at Jewish Senior Life. With me this evening is the Chief Executive Officer of Jewish Senior Life, Dan Katz, as well as Andrew Spencer, who is also a Brighton resident and an engineer at BME Associates, who is a project engineer. But this is more than a project. Jewish Senior Life has undergone and is undergoing a continuing review of their provision of services to seniors. In the current multi-year planning that is going on, there are some infrastructure changes which accompany the provision of services to those who are residents and those who use the facility. For those who don't know, Jewish Senior Life is an umbrella organization which comprises the Jewish home. There is also assisted living and independent living facilities, as well as other facilities in various places within the town. But what we're focused on tonight is the primary campus and the primary campus building where the main Jewish home facility is located. That facility is located, and I'm wondering, should I take the microphone with me or
Sure.
will I pick it up? I'll take it with me.
And I'm a little concerned if
The ability of the
it's
cameras.
the ability of the cameras. Maybe if you want to, if you can bring those out in front of the podium,
Sure.
might be a little easier for the camera and for our folks at home to. Maybe between, maybe just this side of the podium, but angled a little bit more so that the camera and the audience can see them. Thanks, Andy.
I trust you weren't saying that, so I will be behind the boards. I'm going to move in front of the boards.
That's good. That's, yeah,
Right.
maybe a little, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Great, thank you. The main Jewish home facility is located on a parcel of property which is south of the I-590 Expressway, located west of Winton Road and north of Meridian Center Boulevard. The main and existing building is located where I am depicting right here. This tower facility currently houses a number of residents in skilled nursing, as well as some assisted living beds, rehabilitation facilities, and other services for people in need. What we have discovered and what Jewish Senior Life has discovered is that there are new models with regard to providing the services. And those new models involve actually spreading people out a little bit more into, in this case, additional buildings. And I'll walk through what we are talking about with regard to the program which is being proposed. Currently, within the main tower building, there are 362 beds for people who are in need. There are 328 skilled nursing beds, as well as 34 assisted living beds within this building right now. What is being proposed is to spread out that population a bit in a different model of provision of these services. Whereas currently many residents are housed in double rooms, those will be deconverted to single rooms. That is done for convenience, also for health care and infectious disease control and the like. It's a very important change which is being made. The net result is that the population of skilled nursing beds within the main building will drop from 328 to 160. The remaining residents will be housed in buildings located around the perimeter of the Jewish home site, the Jewish home building site, in what are referred to as greenhouses. Greenhouses are congregate living skilled nursing facilities which will allow residents in groups of 12 to live together with congregate services, with congregate areas for provision of kitchen facilities and the like, as well as to be able to provide medical care. That will be provided in a number of buildings. The buildings which are depicted around the perimeter here are 3-story buildings, and those particular buildings will have 3 floors. There are 2 buildings which will be single-story buildings. In each case, on each floor, there will be 12 residents. So the net result is that the remainder of that population will be spread out into the buildings which surround the campus itself. In addition, an independent living building is proposed on the southwest corner of the site as depicted on the site plan. As you will notice, within this Jewish Senior Life campus area, there is abundant green space. There's provision for drainage and for other facilities on the site itself. In addition, the creation of these additional buildings does allow for a true benefit to the overall traffic pattern in this area by providing for a connection coming from the site to the current Summit Walk driveway and out to Meridian Center Boulevard. So in that way, traffic which currently now is focused around the intersection, which is the Jewish Home driveway, French Road, and Winton Road, will be spread so that some of the traffic, especially that going south, will be allowed to come out on Meridian Center Boulevard and go through the signalized intersection, thereby relieving the pressure on both that intersection as well as the I-590 intersections as well. The site itself has been a product of design. It is self-contained. It's a self-contained unit. We believe that this will adequately provide for services going forward to those residents who are in need. In terms of the actual zoning that we are talking about, Currently, the property which houses the Jewish Home building, which I'm outlining with my finger right here, is zoned what's referred to as RHD1, and that is Residential High Density 1 district, and operates under that district with a special permit. The parcel, which is located along Meridian Center Boulevard and Winton Road on the south side of the site, is currently zoned BE1 for office use. At one time, there was a thought that perhaps there would be office utilization for that, but experience has now taught us that that is not a prospect. So essentially, that property has been freed up to become part of the provision of services on the campus as we show here. What will be involved from a pure zoning point of view, again, is a rezoning of this parcel from BE1 to be consistent with the rest of the campus and make it RHD1 for that overall site. In addition, this will be an incentive zoning application, as the supervisor has pointed out, which is a tool that's available to the town and which Brighton has utilized very effectively to allow for changes in zoning while at the same time providing for the provision of what are referred to as amenities to the community. We are currently in discussion with with town staff, and as part of our formal application are required to have a recitation of proposed amenities which will be provided by Jewish Senior Life as a part of the incentive zoning application. The incentive zoning aspect of the application is twofold. One deals with the rezoning itself, but also there are some primarily internal bulk requirements which will be modified as a result of the application, and that will be handled through the incentive zoning process. We certainly look forward to that dialogue and discussion with the town to arrive at a mutually agreeable set of incentives and amenities as we deal with the site itself. Again, on a process point of view, this is an informal presentation to the town board. We have presented and have had discussions over the course of the months with town staff to get a flavor for a lot of what we are proposing and have gotten some input in that regard. We have met with the town board's Public Works Committee at their meeting earlier this month, and now we are coming forward to make this informal presentation in advance of the filing of a formal application, which we expect to be able to do within the next month or so. At that point, the application comes back to this board for consideration of the application, and if on a threshold level the board deems it to be worthy, it then proceeds to a referral to the town planning board and goes through a number of steps and process at which the public can be very much engaged and involved with regard to what is going on. Our objective is to enhance and to continue the strong role of Jewish Senior Life as a member of the Brighton community and to provide service to those who are in need. And I know you've had a long start of the meeting and you have a long meeting already. With that, what we'll do is stop, and if there's any questions which the board has on a threshold level, we'd be glad to address them at this time.
Jerry, I have two questions.
Yes.
You said that I wasn't clear, the three-story buildings, is that going to be 12 people on each floor?
That's correct. There will be 36 people in a building. It's 12 on each floor, spread out in these two buildings here, these two buildings here, located on either side. The view shed is maintained for a single-story building across the main part of the campus on Winton Road.
So each floor is going to have their own kitchen and their own home?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
The other question I had was that you said there were three-story buildings and two single-story buildings, but there's four.
Four.
Right.
If I said three, I meant
I was saying, where's that extra building going? And then
it's four and two.
And then the assisted living, and is that going to be the assisted living one is gonna be like the big ones we have now that have,
This would be an independent living
Indep- I
building,
mean,
yes.
independent
living. It's slated now for 65 beds available, and similar to other facilities that provide independent living, they will have the benefit of the services which could outflow from the main building.
are each of the units gonna be like little apartments?
That's design. We are working on design, and we'll be refining that as we go forward and presenting that. I also do have some elevations that we can show as well. I don't know how that's going to come out on television, but we can pass it along for the board to take a look at. We do have perspective drawings, which are looking southeast from 590, looking southwest from 590, the view from the main entrance, looking northwest from Winton Road and Meridian Center Boulevard, looking at the interior of the site, and also an interior site view of each of the greenhouses.
Thank you.
And not to say anything other than the fact that it's tough to keep everything straight. This one says 2-story. This actually is 1-story. We'll correct that for the next meeting.
You're not planning to get Comida, are you?
What?
You're not planning to get Comida, are you?
This is not a Comida eligible project.
Any other questions from the board or from the audience?
Jerry, right now, there's 328 beds at the main facility at the Jewish home.
There are 362. There are 328 beds which are skilled nursing beds, and there are 34 which are assisted living beds.
And then,
I'm sorry. All skilled nursing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me just give some clarification on that. The current Jewish home is.
And this is Dan Katz from
Yes,
Jewish
it's 362 beds. There's no assisted living beds in the Jewish home. Assisted living is at Walk Manor. We have 60 assisted living apartments at Walk Manor.
and then after this project is completed, how many beds will be on the entire campus?
328 beds. We will drop 34 beds. We'll go from 362 to 328 if the math is right there.
I think, aren't there more than, the independent living beds are new
The independent
beds.
living are not beds, they're apartments.
Right.
Yeah, they're not regulated by the Department of Health or anything. They're senior living apartments, the same way Summit at Brighton apartments are senior living, independent living.
And the apartments are geared for about 65 residents then?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Yeah, some doubles and singles.
so there'll be 65 units in the apartments, or?
65 apartments. There'll be more than 65 people because there'll be couples and, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for coming in tonight, Jerry, Dan, and Andy. Thank you for presenting not only tonight, but to the Public Works Committee earlier. And
We look forward to continuing the process and working with the town on this project.
very good. Thank you.
Right.
We'll now continue with the open forum. Is there anyone that would like to address us during the open forum? Ray and Mary Jo, come on up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Ray Tierney. I'm the chair of the Brighton Bicentennial. With me tonight is Mary Jo Lanfear. She's the town historian. And I might add, the most active town historian anywhere. This year will really, as Mary Jo says, I've been waiting a long time for this, Ray, because I'm constantly saying, well, Mary Jo, can we really do this? Yes, we can do it. Yes, we can do it. Yes, I want to do it. And the enthusiasm that she lends to our effort is unbelievable.
And contagious.
And contagious. Judy Schwartz, she's a member of the committee. I also want to recognize her. She's out here, and her big event is coming up, one that she's been very active in. So what we're going to do tonight, very quickly, and I know this has been a long open forum, but it's important. We've got an Brighton 200 update, and The first thing I want to do is go down very quickly, recap the February event. We had an event over at the U of R's Brighton campus. It was a really special event. It was Brighton, Black Heritage in Brighton. And the reason why I'm bringing it up now is that I talked today, I understood that the actual performance from that day is up on cable, on public access, and you got to watch it. Or you're not, maybe not going to watch the whole thing, but if you see the kids, do not move. That is a special performance by the Brighton, or by the Garth Fagan Dance Ensemble. These were kids from 4 years old to 17, and they just did a very, very special job. Now, the most important thing we've got coming up is the next event, and Mary Jo is going to take a minute here just to tell us a little bit about that reenactment. You touched on it, Bill, but she's going to give us the details. It's coming up it'll be 3 weeks from, or 2 weeks from Saturday. 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
April 5th.
April 5th, okay, let's not. Mary Jo, give us the...
Okay. Historic Brighton met this afternoon, and they were finalizing the plans for the event. The script for the reenactment has been written by Cindy Boyer, and if you've ever been to Walk the Walk at the Landmark Society in October, Cindy does the scripts for Walk the Walk. This script is especially interesting, and it's going to involve moving people through the house, through the 3 rooms of the house, and through the reenactment of the first town meeting, and into the kitchen to hear about the people who are in there, and then back into the parlor bedroom for the final part of the trip. There's going to be a luncheon involved. It's called a plowman's lunch. I think it's going to be bread and cheese and fruit, and probably eaten out of hand, as a plowman would do out in the field. But that's going to be at the Baptist Temple. So the package for the day is going to be buying the plowman's lunch and the ticket for the event. It's going to be $12 for adults and $6 for children, and it's going to be limited because of the size of the house and the number of people that can physically get through the Stone Tolan house in the afternoon. So it's going to be about 125 people altogether that will be involved. I brought flyers. I'm going to ask Ray if you'll pass them over to Dan and circle them around the table. And that's our event for the 5th. Are there any questions about the event for the 5th?
Where we initially go to the Baptist Temple, and do we, from there, is there a bus?
You'll be
or-
shuttled.
There's a shuttle?
Yes, shuttle over from, you could park at the Baptist Temple because there's adequate parking there, and then you'll be shuttled over to the Stone Tolan house. You can make arrangements by selecting the time that you would like to go to the event. They're either at 11:30, 12:30, or 1:30, I believe, in the afternoon. And there's also possibly a provision being made for people who don't want to go through the whole event to stay afterward and see the house, to tour the Stone Tolan house.
And I do want to note that tickets will be available starting tomorrow in the town clerk's office. So you can either sign up by mail, by mailing your request to Historic Brighton, or you can come right to Town Hall, to the town clerk's office, and Dan will be wearing yet another hat tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'll just add one thing to that event, and that is that after the event is over, because it is such a small place, okay, both inside the house and the grounds, and have no parking capabilities. So that is sort of limiting some of the things that we're going to do, but the house and the grounds will be open after the last event. The last event probably is over about 3:30. So they will keep the Stone Tolan house and the grounds open for a while after that. If somebody, you know, if it's sold out, if it's a sold out event, and we're hoping that it is, there still will be an opportunity to go over and visit that home later in the day. The second thing that we'd like to sort of talk just quickly about, and that the last time I was here at the board meeting, we were doing some outreach to get people to come in and bring photos to the scanning event. Well, we're past the scanning event, and now the most important thing for us to communicate to you is, now what happens? And what happens now is we're to the point where we want to take orders for the book. So Mary Jo's just going to show you a little bit. She's got this is the Victor book, actually. Utica book, but our book is going to be similar. We're going to use pictures from Brighton. It's going to be, but this is the kind of book, and I'm going to let
It's
you.
a hardcover book, a nice coffee table size book. It will be by chapters, so we'll have sections about the canal, about Brighton business, about Brighton Village, all sorts of things about Brighton from 1814 to 2014. The photographs are mostly from the town archives. We did get some people bringing in photographs at the 3 scanning sessions that we had during February break. So we have about 12 people that brought photographs in. And we have some messenger post photographs also that we're going to be adding to the book.
Yeah, I don't know how well the camera picks this book up, but I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this, but you know what? I've never been much for limits. So what I'll say is that we've got an exciting picture for the cover, possibly for the cover. I can tell people what it is, and what it is it's sort of a panoramic picture of 12 corners, and we estimate that it was sometime 1950, and it's right at the corner. Looking out into 12 corners, you can see Howard Johnson's over the, and to the right is the Brighton 12 Corners Plaza, and it's sort of neat. It's got the gas station on the corner, and it's got some old cars in it. But the neat thing about it is it's going to be a wraparound. In other words, it will go all the way around the book, and so we're sort of excited. Mary Jo's excited about that. Not that I'm not, but she found that photo, and I think that's great.
Ray, I know that people who've been around Brighton longer than I have are going to ask, is the chateau in the picture?
Yes, the chateau is in the picture. And so the most important thing is that we're really in the process right now of taking orders. I know that you say, well, a book, but this book is going to be available in May. And there's two, again, I just want to remind everybody that there's 2 ways. There you can go and you can order the book and have it delivered, or there's an option where it can be picked up at the town clerk's office. And the books, again, are going to be ready for late May, so that's in time for somebody for Father's Day, or for that matter, any other time. It's really it's going to be a neat book, and Mary Jo has the Brighton Pittsford Post has the order form. You can also go to the website. Our website has it.
www.brighton200.org
I'm
and
asking, though.
www.townofbrighton.org.
Yeah, well, I knew what the websites were, Bill. I wanted to know whether it's there on the website.
I believe it is.
Yeah, okay, hopefully it is.
How much are the books?
The books, pre-ordered, $29.95. If you wait and buy them afterwards, they're $39.95. And there will be books available afterwards, but the pre-order rate, $10 less, is, being in the retail business all my life, $10, it comes to about 25%, a discount. So,
And if you pick it up here at Town Hall, you also save the
postage.
shipping and handling.
So, with that, thank you, Mary Jo, and thank you to everybody. Now, listen, we probably made your meeting a little bit later, but I've got a bonus for everybody. If you have a meeting that goes into midnight, you can wish the supervisor a happy birthday.
Ray, I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that this meeting does not go past midnight, but thank you for the sentiments. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the board during open forum? Seeing no one, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? And we will ask to have an executive session at the end of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Communications, can I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second?
Tonight, we have the annual report of the Brighton Fire District. We also have an invitation from the University of Rochester to a neighborhood meeting that the U of R will be holding to inform Brighton residents, particularly those that live in West Brighton, of their plans for their proposed institutional plan district. That meeting will be held on March 19th at 7 p.m. in the seminar room of the Alumni and Advancement Center, that's the former St. Agnes School, at 300 East River Road. We also have the annual report for Brighton Volunteer Ambulance tonight. Jim, did you want to?
No.
Okay. So can I have a motion to receive and file those and other items of communication? Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports. Louise?
The Parks Committee has not met since the last meeting, and our next meeting will be on the last Monday of the month. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared here. It will be March 17th? 24th. Oh, there's another page here. Right, March 24th at 4:30 at Brookside. The public is welcome.
Thank you. Since Chris, the chair of our Finance Committee, isn't here yet, Jason?
Yes, the Finance Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, March 4th, and each of the items that were discussed at Finance are on tonight's agenda. We also spent some time reviewing the town's credit card and charge card policy based upon some reports from the state auditor and other municipalities across the state. It's time. So we're in the process of doing that. Suzanne did provide us with a draft of our former policies, and that's under review, and hopefully we'll have that in order in due course. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, March 18th. We meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, the credit and charge cards policy is an important one. We do have a policy in place. We've had it in place for a number of years, but obviously the world has changed, cards have changed, and I think appropriately the state comptroller has identified, and there are some towns that did not have a policy at all and yet had a number of credit cards with controls either limited or non-existent on their use. And we have had a policy that has controlled credit card use, but I think it's appropriate we take another look at it, and we're doing that, so thank you. Public safety.
Yes, and Public Safety met this past Tuesday, March 11th, and the items on the agenda that we discussed, in addition to networking with the various public safety agencies that serve the town, such as Brighton Ambulance, Brighton Fire, Brighton Police, Rochester Fire Department, we went over the special event schedule coming up this year, never too early. And Captain Cathaldi went through the events that are currently scheduled, including the Lilac 10K on May 18th. We've also got the Tour de Cure, which leaves out of MCC on June 8th. And never too early to think about this, Homecoming, which is scheduled for the weekend of September 19th. Friday night will be the parade. And then the Rochester Marathon, which goes through town on September 21st. Our next meeting will be on April 8th. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will be back in the lower level community meeting room, which is our usual meeting spot, and the public is also invited to attend.
Thank you. Jim, Public Works.
Public Works met on March 3rd, Monday, March 3rd at 9 a.m. And at that time, under old business, we covered a review of the Monroe Avenue Green Infrastructure Project, and that as we all know, we had an open house that evening for the review of this by the public, and it, I think, went very, very well. The next item was the traffic calming. Tim Keefe, our Commissioner of Public Works, updated the committee relative to benchmarking and the use of speed humps with other communities and agencies. And based upon the findings, the consensus was that the current town criteria was appropriate, and however, traffic calming measures should be evaluated on a broader scale when it's most appropriate when we're considering something like this. We're not advocating the use of speed humps because it can be effective in some areas, but all in all, it does have its its limitations as well as positive aspects. Incentive zoning, the U of R, as you just mentioned, is going to have a public information meeting on Wednesday, March 19th over at the former St. Agnes School Auditorium. This is an update on the U of R campus, their institutional plan development, their IPD. Under new business, we reviewed on the bicentennial, the 12 Corners Park, Unity Park, representatives from the Brighton Chamber came in, and that was, a really pleasant surprise that they were presenting a proposal for improving the park that would be undertaken solely by the Brighton Chamber of Commerce in supporting the bicentennial celebration. This proposal has been referred to the Parks and Rec Committee for consideration, and their meeting is coming up next, or on the March 24th, I should say. So it's a very interesting proposal they have, and we'll take that under consideration. Very, very innovative on their part, and very, very thoughtful in terms of how we can improve even improve further the appearance of the 12 Corners Park. The incentive zoning, we just also had this evening the same thing we had at the the Public Works Committee as a review of the Jewish senior life. So that we recommended and hardly endorsed that they come and do a presentation as they did tonight on that proposal. Our next committee meeting is going to be on Monday, April 7th at 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room. And as with all these committees, the public is surely invited to participate.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
New business, reading and approval of the claims. Jason?
And Councilman Werner was here before his class this afternoon reviewing the claims and reviewing his memo. Notable claims include salt, road salt. It looks like approximately just under $21,000 worth of road salt was paid. There was invoices for Barton and Lojudas, who are the engineer consultants for the Monroe Green Street projects, claim for $11,299.50, which is actually under the grant program. Also, an invoice for Fisher and Associates for $54,394 for the Highland Park Canalway Trail, which is also, there's grant money available for that part of the project. Waste Management, 2 months worth of service for the refuse districts throughout town, in the amount of $137,578.98, and that's for the 2 months. And then Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield for the months of January, February, and March. Each were approximately $237,000. So that was for employee health and retiree health benefits. And the claims appear to be all in order, and I move that they be approved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye.
Force of habit.
Next, Louise.
The next matter is to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement with Electronics to provide video on demand and live video streaming professional services for the period April 25th, 2014 through April 24th, 2015. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any discussion? This will basically maintain the agreement that we have in place for those of you that do enjoy watching on streaming on the internet. Nothing further. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim.
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Cincinnati's Landscape Supply of Geneva to provide landfill contracting services for the 2014 year. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is an arrangement, and maybe Tim can share more, but this is an arrangement that's modified somewhat, but still provides, it's a great deal for the town. This company, Sinsinning, I always have it, you said it very nicely, Jim, but that's a hard word to get out. Sinsinning Landscape purchases excess debris from us, and they use it for their own, purposes, and are planning to pay us $8,000 a year. So, Tim, anything else you'd like to say about that?
Only, Bill, that it does get into our program of being sustainable, I guess, if you want to call it that. We do provide a service that not every community in the county nor the state provide by picking up the yard waste, and we do process it, and we've been able to realize a little bit of a revenue stream, which is great, like you said. So, and they've done a fine job for us the past 3 years.
And we will continue to keep enough on hand for our own residents, many of whom take advantage of the opportunity to use that mulch themselves.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Next matter is the approval to declare 2 police department vehicles as surplus and authorize their disposal through the municipal equipment auction process. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion?
I would ask, how many Crown Vics do we still have in the inventory?
There are approximately 3. There's not many left.
Yeah, I know.
But both of these vehicles have actually more miles than what our sort of benchmark policy is. They've gotten a lot of use, and they're ready to find a new home.
Yes, they are.
All right, they will be sold at auction. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is seeking approval to accept as donated surplus property from the Monroe County Department of Transportation 3 driver feedback radar units currently situated along Elmwood Avenue east of the 12 Corners. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second. And I'd ask if Tim and I had discussed this, and I brought this up many times at the Public Works because I've had a high level of frustration of this well-intended installation by the county of 3 of these traffic monitors that remind people if they in fact are abiding by the speed limit or not. And it's on Elmwood Avenue. The ones that function I think are a very good reminder and good feedback from the residents. But we've had, on occasion, because of where they place these things, they're solar powered and they're covered by the canopy of the trees, so they don't function too well. What I've been trying to do, and Tim has been leading the charge on this, his department, is to get these things up and running, functioning, all 3 of them. Finally, I think we've come to an agreement whereby they're declaring this as surplus. So from the standpoint, I'm elated the fact that we're going to receive these and hopefully turn them into fully functioning, and not necessarily at the same locations. Tim, you want to add your comments on this as a superintendent of highways?
Well, Jim, you've described it pretty well. For folks that need a little more background, is that these were put in when the county did the Elmwood Avenue reconstruction that went east of the 12 Corners to Clover Street. And one of the things that they agreed to as part of the process was to install these 3 driver feedback signs. And as you said, they're very effective. Yeah. I think that it certainly warns people when they're going too fast. I drive that route daily, I know as a supervisor does, and I think that you'll find that there's really not a high level, I guess, of excess speeding due to these. That's for my personal experience I would offer, because most people are within 5 miles an hour of the speed limit, which is, I think pretty good, considering that this is a main route up to the U of R nowadays. So 2 out of the 3 are functioning pretty good right now. I know the county has put new batteries in those, and as you said, that originally these were not supposed to be solar. They were supposed to be hardwired. Got into debates with RG&E, the county did, and then they decided to go with the solar because of the tariff rates and the want of installation of meters and a number of other things. So the one has unfortunately been in a position that it hasn't been very effective. The county indicated to me that they were thinking of taking these units out. There was no guarantee that these were going to be in perpetuity and the county would replace these. And I thought maybe the best thing to do from the standpoint, because there's really no obligation and, at the moment, no cost to the town to inherit these. But in order to keep these in place, because I think they are effective and they serve a very nice purpose for, this corridor of Elmwood for the residents in the area as well as all of the folks driving through, is if the town took them over, we can keep these in place as long as they're operating. And that would be, sort of our intent is to do that.
Right.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks, Jim. I think you're right in terms of your observation that the speed issues on that part of Elmwood are, although they're there, obviously any highway is going to find some people that are speeding, particularly at off hours. Certainly at peak traffic times, the traffic volumes are such. Most people can't drive even at the speed limit. So I think, although I know those were installed as part of that project, and if we can find a way, a place along that stretch where they will still effectively address real speeding issues and also have solar access, that's great. If they can't, or if we decide that another part of Elmwood Avenue, for example, on the 4-lane part of Elmwood Avenue, west of the 12 corners, where I think, at least anecdotally, we would find a higher percentage of speeding, and certainly some stretches where there's less of a tree canopy. I recognize that they were initially installed as part of the Elmwood Avenue project, and they've served that area since that time. I was going to say well, but in fact one of them hasn't served it well. I would not be averse necessarily, and I'd be interested in feedback, but I would not be averse to considering moving at least one of them, maybe to this stretch of Elmwood Avenue, so that more of our drivers get, because I think you're right. I think those signs do provide the positive feedback that keep people within the speed limit. So,
And I think one of the residents on right east of 490, her child was hit by a car several years ago and hurt pretty badly. And so having it there, the one that does work well, I think allayed some of her fear, some of the neighbors over there after that accident. And thank goodness that's the one that worked well.
Yeah.
So.
okay, any further comments? We do have a motion and a second to accept those as donated surplus property. Please call the roll, Dan.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Nofros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Next, we have two amendments, and I think important amendments that I have requested the board consider tonight, two personnel policies. The first is an amendment to our equal employment opportunity and non-discrimination personnel policies to make it clear and really formally incorporated in our policy that the town does not discriminate, and to make it clear that any form of harassment against transgendered individuals is in fact a violation of our policy. So that is the impact of these two proposed amendments that I'm asking for in the first resolution. Louise?
In the matter of authorizing amendments to the Equal Employment Opportunity and Non-Discrimination Personnel Policy, I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Now, are we voting on the amendment itself?
We are, and
On the code that, as written?
yeah, and Louise and I had a chat the other day, and I think she's done a good, thorough review of the equal employment opportunity and non-discrimination policies in general. And I think Louise, Ken, and I ought to discuss those, and with Gary Brandt, our HR director, with an eye towards making some, more thorough revisions. I think that's important, but I think we should act on these amendments now to make it clear that we will not, and we've always taken a very strong position on harassment, and we've taken a position beyond just sexual harassment. Sexual harassment obviously is very important, but there are non-sexual forms of harassment that also can make a workplace an unpleasant place to be. That also is a violation of our policy, and we want to make it clear that any such harassment or any discrimination against transgendered individuals would be considered a violation of our personnel policies. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Actually, I was waiting to see if anybody else said anything. I just want to commend you for bringing this to the board for Actman. I know the state Senate has shamefully, in my opinion, year after year failed to bring gender to the floor, and I know members of the trans community in Brighton will appreciate the leadership you've shown on this topic, and hopefully it'll filter up.
And this is a first step. I have also asked that our HR director and our town attorney work to develop a fully comprehensive mini-genda, if you will, for the town of Brighton. Yes, it's good that local government makes it clear that we won't tolerate that, but particularly in light of some of what I consider to be extreme legislation proposed and fortunately vetoed in Arizona and other places, I think it is very important that we go on record, and we go on record as strong and in as enforceable a way as we can, that we will not tolerate in the community of Brighton discrimination against transgendered individuals any more than we would tolerate discrimination on people based on their race, their religion, or other factors. So I have asked Ken and Gary to work on that and get that completed as soon as possible. But this is a first step, and I do appreciate your support as well, Dan. Thank you.
And I think it's really important to, when you are finalizing it, to have something in there telling the employees that they have a responsibility as well to let other people in their department know what is offensive to them, so that if somebody does, is out of line, doesn't just go report it and have all kinds of personnel matters.
Well, yeah, it is
a whole well-rounded thing.
That's right, and our policy does indicate that people should, we encourage people that are the subject of harassment or discrimination to make their supervisor aware, make their departmental supervisor aware, make the HR director aware, so we can address it right away. Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. I think the next proposed policy is equally important and equally groundbreaking here in Monroe County. There's been a lot of talk of living wage. What we know is that the minimum wage, whether it's the federal minimum wage or even the state minimum wage, is not sufficient for an employee working full-time to support themselves and a family. There are too many working poor in this country and in this community. And I think it's important that we as leaders take an affirmative step here in town government to address that issue. And so I'm proposing that we incorporate in our personnel policy the policy that full-time permanent employees, unrepresented employees, obviously those that are represented by a union have their own bargaining process where their wage and salary levels are set, but that those full-time permanent non-represented employees be guaranteed a living wage if they work for the town of Brighton. That living wage will be computed based on a calculation that the city of Rochester currently makes every year. They have a policy that requires firms that they contract with to pay their employees the minimum wage. We want to make sure that our own the living wage. We want to make sure that all of our own employees are paid a living wage. The city currently calculates 2 living wages, one based on employees that receive health care benefits, or that are offered, I should say, health care benefits, one for employees that are not. Because all of our full-time permanent employees are offered health care benefits, we will use that rate, which I believe right now is $11.50 an hour. It's close to that anyway. But I think that's the number. I think that's the number, is a base rate for our full-time permanent employees. So I'm proposing that, and I'm asking that someone make a motion to adopt that as part of our personnel policy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
The only thing that bothers me a little bit is that we are basing it on what the city does. I know, you know, why reinvent the wheel, but if I just think that somehow we should be able to define it on our own, you know, from Brighton's point of view instead of on what the city is doing.
The problem with that is that the city, in their law, does use an established formula based on an established cost of living scale. That's not something, frankly, that is computed on a, you know, sort of on a micro basis for, you know, the town of Brighton. And I know what you're getting at in terms of that regard. And I hear what you're saying. The cost of living may be somewhat different depending on where someone lives. Of course, our employees may live anywhere. They may live in the city, they may live in Brighton, they may live in Mount Morris. And living costs are going to be different in each of those communities. But this is the best, really the only formula that exists in this region for computing what a living wage is. So I think, at least for today's purposes, that's a methodology that will allow us to implement this quickly and know that at least we are reflecting a level that our sister community, Rochester, has identified as, in fact, a living wage.
It's just so that we know, if sometime in the future, if the city doesn't do this anymore, we will have some sort of a basis of having our own formula.
And I agree. If the city, for whatever reason, were to repeal their law or otherwise no longer compute that rate, we would want to probably use the same formula that they're currently using, because it is based on federal statistics, and make sure that we maintain a rate in place.
I think it's a fair question you're asking, Louise. But as Bill was saying, it just says that we're not alone in this, and there's a rational reason why we're even considering this. But we're not just playing copycat on this. It's just we're not the only community that advocate doing this. And that's a fair question, really.
We just know that you just never know if another community is
Sure.
going to drop it or not. And we don't
Absolutely.
Want, if we don't want to, we have to know how to compute it.
Yep.
I think it's also important to discuss, because we've talked, I certainly talked probably at too great length about fiscal impacts on our community. At present, we do not have any full-time, permanent, non-represented employees that are making less than a living wage on our salary schedule. However, there are, in that full-time permanent salary schedule, spots, at what we refer to as lower steps, steps that someone with little or no experience that comes to the town and takes a position that would currently be below the living wage. And what I've asked is that going forward, that our salary schedule for any of those step positions that would otherwise, under our formula, be less than the living wage, be recalculated to make them equal to that living wage going forward. So today, there will not be any fiscal impact to this provision. It is certainly possible that going forward, as there are new hires to some of those entry-level positions, there could be a modest fiscal impact to the town, but I think, and I hope we do become a bellwether. I hope this sends a message to other communities who I know share the concern of this town board for poverty in the community, and share the desire that people that work, we've talked about this before. We are very proud of the employees that work for the town. They do good work, they do hard work. And I, for one, certainly believe that those employees should not leave work after working year-round on a full-time basis, not even bringing enough home in their paycheck to support themselves and their family of four. Ken?
Supervisor, I was giving some thought to what Councilmember Navros was indicating in terms of the city changing its code. And I think there are some tiny little language changes we could make to this draft right now, and actually I've already made them.
Okay.
That might accomplish exactly what she's concerned about, or at least modify that result.
Good.
And so I've written them out. I don't know if you want to.
Why don't you read them? Go
Okay.
ahead.
So if you open up your packets and look at the draft, you'll see a section of the draft titled Policy. And that is the language, the effective language of the living wage policy that we will be enacting. Currently, the second sentence of the policy reads, "The living wage shall be consistent with Section 8A-18 of the Rochester, New York City Code, and the hourly wage rate shall be the identified rate in the City Code Section 8A as the rate, quote, with health insurance," end quote. And then we go on to another clause. What I would propose we change that to is, "The living rate shall be consistent with the rate set under Section 8A-18 of the Rochester, New York City Code, and that the hourly wage rate shall be no less than the computed rate in City Code Section 8A-18 as the rate, quote, with health insurance," end quote. My goal there is, if we have set that rate, and we know currently as we're adopting this policy that there is such a rate, and that rate is $11.30 exactly for employees with health benefits, that we then won't slide back if that policy is abolished. And then if that policy was abolished, it would also allow us, of course, to come back into our own policy and amend further to establish our own parameters. So I like that language better. There is a second reason for that, Supervisor, that amendment. And the second reason for that amendment is looking at the city code itself. And that's what the language as drafted said. The rate identified in City Code Section 8A-18. If you open up the city code and look at 8A-18, you'll see that rate is $8.52 an hour, because that's what it was when this code was first adopted in 2001. Mm-hmm. And so what we don't really want that rate.
No, we don't.
We want the computed rate, which is currently $11.30.
Right, and thank you. That is a good fix, and obviously that will include future inflationary increases based on the federal formula. Thank you, Ken.
But
Can I ask, and then we'll have further discussion, Jim, if you and Jason will accept that as a friendly amendment to?
Yes, could you
Motion.
restate this, though, please?
It's now in the town clerk's hands, so he'll have to restate that.
And this is the first paragraph under
Yeah.
First
policy.
paragraph under
where that
policy.
changes.
All full-time permanent town employees shall be paid a living wage. The living wage shall be consistent with the rate set under Section 8A-18 of the Rochester, New York City Code, and the hourly wage rate shall be no less than the computed rate in City Code Section 8A-18 as the rate with health insurance.
How, let me suggest just one more change. Consistent with that, how about in the next succeeding sentence, to remain consistent with the rate computed pursuant to City of Rochester Code Section 8A18.
That sounds like a good suggestion as well. I'm now flying without papers in front of me, though, so I'll have to rely on what you're all reading.
You have it, Dan?
Yep.
You want to read it again?
So
Slowly.
the next sentence would be, the town of Brighton rate will be modified on January 1st of each year to remain consistent with, there's the addition of, the rate computed
pursuant to the,
City of Rochester Code Section 8A-18,
Correct.
then in effect.
one more thing. If, where you say, the second line, consistent with Section 8A-18 of the Rochester, New York City Code. To me, I thought this is Rochester, New York City.
Well, that's what their
Rochester, I mean,
code is
perhaps there
called.
should be a comma after the word Rochester.
There is.
There is.
There
It
is, okay, see, I told you, paper's not in front of me now.
Rochester.
Rochester, New York. I mean, you definitely want to identify the city that you're referring to, not Rochester,
How about
Minnesota.
if we do this? How about if we do this? The city code of Rochester, New York.
We could do that.
That's good.
Because you are right, Louise. The eye looks at that and sees New York City.
Yeah.
Only the apple of your eye sees New York City.
Actually, the town code, not the city.
No, the city code.
City
This is
code
a
of
reference
Rochester,
to
New
the
York.
city
Okay.
code of the city of Rochester, New
It
York.
is officially the city code. You have a
Yeah.
city code, you have a city charter.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll ask you again, just to confirm, Jim and Jason, you
Yes.
approve of all of those as friendly amendments to your motion and second. Any further discussion?
Does the town clerk have all this now?
I have the requested changes, but I guess my question would be, are we limiting ourselves if the city, by mentioning the specific section? So if the city makes any changes, like in the paragraph, in the section right before or right after?
We'd have to amend our
Okay.
code at that point, yeah.
Let me just, if I may explain, Section 8A-18 of the City Code of the City of Rochester is the Rochester Living Wage Ordinance, underneath which there are several other subparagraphs and sections. So when we refer to 8A-18, we're referring to the entire Rochester Living Wage Ordinance.
Because it's unlikely to, numbering is unlikely to change. then in
Numbering
that
on that
case.
would be unlikely to change.
Because they
Even
do
if they
have-
added subsections and changed subsections, they're not gonna change the actual.
They already have 8A1 through 8A17, so I think any new additions would be
Yeah.
numbered consecutively after that.
Only something that somebody who works with general code could appreciate.
Any further discussion? Again, I think this is an important policy for all the reasons that I've delineated. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Well, I couldn't give this one to any other than Jim Vogel, our goose control contract.
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with the Geese Control of New York to provide geese control services for the year 2014. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Jim, you've been working,
Yeah, let's see,
making
this,
sure we have an effective goose control
This has been
policy for
going on.
years.
let's see, I think we've had this about 9 years now.
Oh, I think it's longer than that.
10 years?
Yeah, it's because Ken was on the board at that point. Definitely double digits.
Yeah, okay.
And thank you for,
And it's,
thank you for that.
it's been effective. So anyway, I move on that.
A
Resolution.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Next matter is to authorize supervisor to execute agreement with Southpaw Designs Incorporated to provide police vehicle striping services for 2014. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion?
This was the lowest bidder, and
And it's a company that we started doing business with last year, been pleased with their service.
We did go out and do a site, this is the first year we'll be using them. We did go out and do a site visit 2 months ago, and it is a low bidder. We do believe they'll provide a quality product.
Yeah, I guess, I'm sorry, it's the next one that is, it's the company we've done business with the past year, right? Good, thank you for that, for clarifying that. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Again, Jason.
Next matter is to authorize supervisor to execute amended agreement with Task Force Lighting Company to provide police vehicle lighting setup for 2014. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is the company that we've done work with before, and any discussion on that? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to authorize an amendment to the 2014 capital budget to include any appropriated or reappropriated unexpended balances and interest earned in years prior to 2014 to provide for all ongoing capital projects. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I know that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, but it is important accounting work that we do every year. Suzanne, would you like to elucidate us?
Yeah, and as you said, it's just internal accounting work that we need to do, just the way we have our capital projects set up on our financial system. They close out at year end like all our other funds do, but a capital project is something set up specifically so that it goes beyond the calendar year. It's one of the reasons why we set them up in capital projects. So we're just reappropriating what closed out at year end 2013 into 2014.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
And the next matter is to authorize transfer of balance funds in the amount of $47,618.43 from the Storm Sewer Debt Services account to the Highway Fund. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And Suzanne again, because this is, again, an important, but maybe arcane accounting matter.
Correct. We had a capital project that we set up, I can't remember the year, but several years ago for the Warren Avenue culvert, and we had borrowed funds. That debt has been paid off. There's some funds left in the project, so we're just returning them to the highway fund where they originated.
Thank you. And again, you know, proper accounting for these capital accounts is very important. Suzanne and I earlier this week shared an opportunity to review one of the state comptroller opinions addressing capital accounts. This is consistent with policy. I know you've reviewed it not only, you've reviewed it with our own auditors. So this is the appropriate way to handle these funds. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. We have the expenses and revenues for the period ending February 28th, the second month of the year. And as always, we will await the full first quarter report. So can I have a motion to simply receive and file this?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Again, I can't say enough about the work that our highway crews did last night, but of course that's not a one-night thing. They have worked hard this year and every year, but last night was an extraordinary night. This year has been a pretty significant year in terms of the actual volume that we've had to have. Welcome, Chris. We did.
Perfect time.
We do appreciate your getting here, and I know you had your class to teach tonight, so thank you for rushing over and getting here. It's just about to talk about yes, thanking everybody for their hard work, but with that hard work obviously comes a price. And I've had the chance to review this week our salt expense and our personnel expense, both regular time and overtime, in the highway department relating to our snow and ice control. And it should come as no surprise to anybody that we are substantially, our expenses are substantially ahead of our budgeted amounts. Now, it's only 2 months of the year, but we have so far expended more than half of what we would expect to expend in the year for salt, and close to 2/3 what we would expect to expend in the year for overtime expense. So, and last night, we're into March now, so no, those figures don't reflect this most recent storm. We can't control Mother Nature. Well, we can't stop Mother Nature. Tim's crews can control her a little bit, and but that comes at a cost. We're going to have to manage those costs. The one thing that I can say with great pride is partly because of how well we have managed our salt consumption. We have not experienced any salt shortages. We have adequate salt on hand today. We've had adequate salt on hand throughout the season. So if, God forbid, we do have still more snow and ice events, we will be ready to handle them. So, but you know, it is 2 months in. Last year we had a very, very early, an easy early season in January through April. And then November and December, not so much. And that trend has continued this year. Hopefully what that means is this November and December we'll skate through. So time will tell. But again, thank you for providing with that data, and thank you for the opportunity to share it. Matters of the attorney to the town.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Matters of the clerk.
I have nothing this evening either.
Thank you. Matters of the board.
I just wanted to mention that Clean Sweep is going to be on the 5th of May, as I've told you before. All the in-kind sponsors have agreed to help us again this year, so we will have subs and pizzas and donuts and all the goodies.
That's reason enough to come.
Yeah.
2 good meals.
And all of our financial sponsors have agreed to sponsor us again, so that we will have enough money to get the T-shirts and whatever else we have to get. And we are online with the rec department so that you could register online. Now all we have to do is get all the people excited enough to come join us that day. So it's 9 o'clock on the 5th of May. We will have flyers here at Town Hall, and I'm also going to be sending flyers to all neighborhood association presidents so that they can distribute it to their neighbors. And I'm having, as far as the pharmaceutical, I'm putting notices up in doctor's offices, so.
And the pharmaceutical recycling, though, is it different?
That will be on the 26th of April.
Okay.
And so we got 3 weekends in a row going. After Clean Sweep is the electronics and the shredding.
And that is on May 10th. Okay. Thank you for that, Louise. And we've got school kids, as we do every year, coming out for Clean Sweep. It is another great community event, and let's make it a big one this year. Any other matters of the town board?
Just congratulations to the Highway Department and the Police Department for keeping things under control through this terrible storm.
Yep, and you're right. Thanks we've mentioned the Highway Department, but the Police Department always deserves kudos. Fortunately, it wasn't a terribly busy night here in Brighton, but there's always work to be done, and we thank you for that. Anything else? As always, I want to thank the cable TV crews for keeping us going tonight, keeping us on your TVs and streaming on the computer. I do need a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person and the West Brighton fire and Clover Blossom litigation. Can I have a motion to go into executive session for those matters?
So moved.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner? Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you at our next town board meeting, March 26th, 2014. Have a nice evening and drive carefully.
It's a week of scuba diving.